Good morning, we are in Užice and we are going to Zlakusa village. Bardzo serdecznie. Wczoraj do hostelu chłopaki przyjechali z Polski. Jak się nazywacie?
Cześć, jestem Maciek z Wrocławia.
Siema, Tomek z Szczecina.
Siemka panowie. Chłopaki przyjechali bez rezerwacji, także miła niespodzianka. Powiedzcie, kiedy wyjechaliście z Polski i gdzie byliście?
No, już 2 tygodnie jesteśmy poza Polską. Zaczęliśmy
4 lipca wyjechaliśmy z Polski do Albanii, do Tirany. Podróżowaliśmy po Albanii 9 dni, nie Maciek?
coś koło tego. Następnie przez Kosowo do Serbii już szliśmy.
No właśnie, powiedzcie, jak wygląda w Albanii sytuacja z koroną, a jak w Kosowie?
Znaczy widać, że w Albanii ludzie się tym zupełnie nie przejmują, w przeciwieństwie do Kosowa. W Kosowie restrykcje są dość poważne, jest aktualnie godzina policyjna od 9, wszystkie restauracje są tutaj zamknięte, natomiast w Albanii ludzie żyją tak, jakby się nic nie działo.
Okej, w sensie godzina policyjna masz na myśli, że po prostu są zamykane bary, knajpy i tak
Dokładnie.
dalej.
I
można
ludzie
być na
nie
mieście.
można.
A, nie można.
Nie można.
Okay. I
Dokładnie.
maski pewnie wszyscy noszą, tak, i tak dalej, okej.
Wszyscy.
Dobra.
W przeciwieństwie do Albanii, gdzie praktycznie nikt nie nosił takich masek.
Ale z tego co mi mówiliście, nie planowaliście to chyba Serbii.
Była w planach,
Ale już teraz, czy jakoś
nie,
później?
później.
No właśnie, teraz
Niestety w Kosowie nam się plany troszkę pokrzyżowały. Odwołali wszystkie autobusy międzynarodowe do Skopii, no i musieliśmy jechać do Belgradu, troszkę przestawić nasze plany.
Plan B to był już tak.
Dokładnie.
Czyli też sobie pojechaliście do Belgradu, a potem znowu się cofnęliście.
Znaczy, bo my ogólnie planowaliśmy
do
jechać przez Macedonię, przez Serbię i do Budapesztu i do Polski, no ale niestety teraz się to wszystko pozmieniało.
Był jeden gościu ze Stanów w hostelu i wczoraj próbował się dostać do Bośni, mu się nie udało.
Nie, zamknięte.
Zastanawiałem się, czy jest zamknięta, czy może go nie wpuścili, bo jest ze Stanów.
Dla nas też niestety jest zamknięte jeszcze. Czarnogóra się otworzyła niedawno.
Czy Albania, właśnie, bo tak się zastanawiam, no bo Albania nie była częścią Jugosławii,
nie była.
Więc spodziewałbym się właśnie, że będzie się różniła bardziej niż te inne wszystkie kraje między sobą. Czy mam rację, czy niekoniecznie?
Wiesz co, ja na razie jestem tylko w Serbii. W Albanii nie ma takiego klimatu troszkę postkomunizmu. W Serbii czuję się trochę w takiej małej Rosji, nie wiem czy rozumiesz o co
To
chodzi.
jest zdecydowanie tak.
No, a tam się tak nie czułem.
Generalnie dla mnie Jugosławia to był taki właśnie mini ZSRR.
No taki przydupas Rosji, nie?
A Tito to taki mini Stalin był.
No, a tam był Hodża, był bardzo podobny ziomuś.
A mi tam Albania się zawsze będzie kojarzyła z mega przyjaznymi ludźmi.
Eventually.
You know, when I travel, I always try to at least read some Wikipedia stuff about places where I'm going, so I'm about to give you all of the information that you can find about Zlakusa village on Wikipedia. So, there are 671 people living here. This is the ticket, and it is 200 Serbian dinars.
Etnopark Terzicavlija is a typical household from the beginning of 20th century, which is different from other households from this village because he was working school in time of Second World War, and nowadays we have museum of history of this area.
So this is how a classroom looked.
Looked from 1939 till 1946,
Okay.
while school was working here. Know if you heard of Republic of Užice, which
Yeah.
was like first free territory in whole occupied Europe. Well, first battle for that freedom was held in this village. in 1941, 18 August. After that battle, after Germans lost, they came to the village, entered the school and found some communistic books which were forbidden at that time. And because of that books, they took the owner of the household, Gvozden, and his nephew, because Gvozden didn't have any children, because he spent 7 years in different wars, from Balkan to First World War, and took them and killed them and hanged them at the entry of the village with more 60 people from our village. Like punishment for one dead German soldier. In that time there was rule in Serbia for one dead German, they will kill 100 civilians. From time of school, pupils were writing on these blackboards. So on one side there were squares, the other was with lines, and there is a funny story about homeworks. When people write their homework, they were using that wool bags, like on that bench right there. And when you put this blackboard inside with some more books or with some food, because they were walking more than 20 kilometers to the school, it just rubbish. And when they come to school, their homework is vanished. There is no homework. Then they were punished with this, or with stick, or with they need to get down on their knees on nutshells or on corns till their knees start bleeding. And when they start bleeding, teacher sends you back home. You go back home, and then you get punished at home. Why are your knees bleeding? Why was you punished at school? This was called Vajat, and
For wedding.
yeah,
Wedding
for
couple.
wedding couple. And in Serbian tradition, as much there was sons in one family, that's the number how many Vajats that family had. Each son had his own Vajat, and he stayed there with his wife after the wedding until they don't earn enough money to make bigger house, or until someone dies from the family, so he takes his bed in the main house. So it was used only for sleeping, and there was no cooking or anything inside, no even window or heating place. So at the winter it was freezing, but the reason why there were two beds is because at that time marriages were arranged. So you don't meet your wife till the wedding day. You don't know who are you getting married to. Just your father comes to you and says, you know, in 7 days you're getting married. And you say, I don't want to. I love the other girl. I don't care. You're getting married. So that was like that. So they didn't want to sleep with complete strangers at the beginning. So they had two beds, but and then older people were smarter. So they made the tradition to organize weddings at the autumn, just before the winter. So there is no
It's gonna be
heating,
cold,
so
we
they
need
must
sleep
together because they'll get children faster.
And until when marriages were arranged in Serbia?
In some areas, so in mountains, some villages, they are still arranging marriages. I mean, I met one guy who was 40 years old, married 13 years old girl.
13?
Is that legal?
It was till 5 years ago. Now the limit is 14.
14? Really? You can marry a 14-year-old in
Yeah.
Serbia
Yeah.
legally?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
If
I didn't know that.
If her parents agree with that.
So what is it? Sorry.
Like a weaving workshop.
Oh, a workshop. Okay.
Because there were no boutique shops in that back then, so they were every family was making their own clothes, and that what you made, that's what you will wear. Not only for 1 year, 2 years, you'll wear it till it's ripped off totally. They just in the whole life they change 3 or 4 clothes, shirts or something like that. In Serbia, every village had something different from other villages. For example, in this village, they were wearing only blue flowers on their socks. Village next to us, they were wearing only pink colors. Everything looked the same, but that was like the difference. When you meet someone on the street, you know exactly from which village he came. Even some big families had something specific to their family. So there was huge difference in Serbian costumes.
And okay, so this is a library, obviously.
Here we have 12,000 books. The oldest book is from 14th century.
The oldest one, the 14th
yeah.
century.
Yeah, it's.
What is it about?
Some church book. It's written on Old Slovenian language, Old Slav language.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not able to read exactly what it is, but looking at the drawings inside the book, it's some liturgic book or something like that. Most of them, this back shelf is about Second World War, because we had a doctor of historic science in our village who paid us a visit and gave all his books to the library, because he was thinking that a book is something which belongs to the people, not to someone personally. This was never printed, so it's old book. It's all handwritten, so you see, and it's about history of weapons, physics and mathematics of building a cannon, the usage of guns. So this is, for example, he writes which country used this gun and principle how it was working, because if you find at the war someone's guns, which is not from your everyday usage, just to know how to use that another gun.
It's also handmade?
This is Austro-Hungarian, German, French, French too, from Switzerland and England.
So this is like ancient AutoCAD, basically.
We bought this book for 500 dinars, so it's like 4 euros on the internet.
So I suppose that someone didn't know what they had.
Yeah.
How much do you
Or
think it's
he was
worth?
desperate for money.
How much do you think it's worth?
For me, it's worthless because it's handwritten. It's history of weapons after First World War, when our country started developing, and when we became Kingdom of Yugoslavia, and it's history of one country which doesn't exist anymore. So for me, it's priceless. This small house is our small museum. Here's that thematical exhibition of World of Cigarettes. This house is actually a place where a teacher used to live while he was working in school. Here is the exhibition of radio. First use of radio waves was in Serbia in time of First World War, when we used radio waves to communicate with Italians from Kosovo. Then first radio show was recorded in 1924, which was even before Vienna recorded. It was recorded in Belgrade, so Belgrade had their radio station before Vienna, before Moscow, before Tokyo, and more other nowadays more developed cities. The first radio which was made in Serbia was this guy. It's called Cosmine 49, and it was produced from 1947. And all of these old ones till these Philips, they are fixed and they are producing sound even nowadays. Even had this what's called
Seat belts.
Yeah, I just need to put them because of the law. Or even this mirror.
Yeah.
Originally they didn't have them, so it was like these two without mirrors. But because Serbian law is you must have two mirrors, one inside or at least one on driver's side. I just put it because of the law.
So the only safety feature of this car are the brakes, probably.
Yeah, brakes, and they said that good thing was if you hit the wall with it, you can still drive because engine was at the back. So that was.
Okay, that was actually very interesting. And now we're going to the cave.
A few moments later.
Okay, we are at the cave. It actually started to rain, so it's a perfect day for caves. The ticket for the cave is 300 dinars. I was told that this is the biggest cave entrance in all of Serbia and the third biggest in Europe.